everybody, welcome back to what has turned into the third part of our series on refurbishing an old dock pedestal. I do need to still add the lenses, the light on the top, and a top to it, along with the side doors that close up to keep it weatherproof. I'm holding off on adding those to it until after the electrician comes and connects it. I just figured it'd be a lot easier and less chance of them potentially breaking one of the doors if everything's off of it while they connect it. I also need to hook up the plumbing to it. So let's go ahead and get started. We're working on the plumbing, and this right here is a very small template. I have the two holes here, and that is where the actual holes are in the side of the pedestal. I know how wide it is, and now I'm just working on the layout so I can put a regular sort of faucet, if you will, right out here so I can turn the water on and off. I have a single water connection out there buried in the ground, and I want to actually have it come up and go to two hoses, one that can be connected to the boat or wash the boat, and another if I want to run a sprinkler in the backyard or anything else I may need a second hose for. There's two holes in the pedestal where they used to be. I figured it just makes sense to have two on there. So let's talk about the things we need to do to sort of prepare for this. The first thing is I like making a template. I always like making a template. It's a lot easier to sit here at a desk and a table and lay everything out than it would be to be laying on the ground in a small confined area trying to figure out how to make this work. And the reason I say how to make this work is I have a single piece of PVC coming up through the concrete for my water connection. I would like to have a valve to turn that on and off if I have room. And then I'd like two of these hose bibs. So think of something like this. Let me put it in front of this so you can see it better. Something like that, so that I can actually connect it right off the side of the pedestal, connect hoses to it. However, it's not a lot of space between these two. So what I really need to work out is the best layout to go from two connections down to a single connection. And normally you would say, yeah, no big deal. You use a T-fitting for something like that. While that would make sense if there was enough room to do something like this. You'll notice if I were to do that, it becomes too wide for where the holes are. So I have to get a little bit creative. I think that's going to be involving a lot of angles. So let's get laying this out. Okay, let me show you what we have. So this would be the back of the faucet. The front would be where the spigots would connect here. I have, you see this line right here? I actually have about that much further out from the side. So I have a good 1.25 inches on either side that I can work with. Here's what I think we're going to end up doing. I'm going to turn these out at an angle. I'm going to come up in my single fitting here. I believe I can do this. And then this, make this ultimately fit. Let me kind of just show it on the table here so you can see the shape. I believe I can do something very much like this. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dry fit everything just to make sure it's going to work. I can carry it out there, and at the end of the day, all I'll be out is, maybe 4 or 5 inches of this where I make little pieces to connect these two together. That way I can see if everything's going to fit the way I think it's going to based on my little jig here. I also have to see if I can work it into the panel, into the box, because remember, I'm making it wider than the opening here. So I'm going to have to sort of work it in there and then, and then get it into place. If I can do all that, then I can come back out here, take it all apart, glue it together, and be all set. So let's go ahead and give this a few shots here. I'm just going to cut a few of these pieces just long enough to make inserts so I can connect these together. Big questions are going to be, will this do the trick? Let's take this thing off and we'll go see if it fits out of the pedestal. So the good news is it did fit. It required me to push in just a little bit and flex this. So I'm going to glue this thing up, and I'm going to add a valve right to the bottom of this. And I wanted something that I could take apart in the event I ever had to lift the pedestal up and off of here. I could take this off. Well, when I put this together, I actually had this piece that's going down at an angle, the wrong angle. And right as I put the glue in it, I twisted it with a pair of pliers and said, let's see if it works. If not, I'll have to rebuild it anyway. and it worked, and it looked like it was good. I put the whole thing together, and I ended up with a couple of drips right in one of these joints right here. So I need to make another one of these, and I didn't make it perfectly square anyway. So I was struggling a little bit. You know, you put these things together, dry fit, and it looks good. You put everything together and you think, perfect, I've got it. And then what ends up happening is, as you're putting the PVC pieces together to glue them, you twist them a little bit to get them in. And I wasn't getting them exactly in the same position. And I was sort of telling my dad about it. I'm like, yeah, I was doing that. He's like, yeah, what you do is just, once you put them together, take a piece of a Sharpie and draw a line across them. That way you know exactly where they are. I'm like, such a simple and straightforward solution that I didn't think about. So I am now making another one of these things that will go on the inside, down on the bottom over there, put a couple of spigots on the outside, connect it up to my water, which I already have the water connected with a cutoff here, but I have it turned off so I can get to this. So this here is the basic shape I need to get to, as you can see here. And you can definitely see the angle. I was talking about how I bent this that way. So let's go ahead and get this piece off of here.
And this all feels very much like deja vu, so I'm starting by just cutting each of these pieces about 1 inch to 1.25 inches long, and I want to leave just a small enough gap between the two pieces of fitting so that I could cut it if I ever had to in one of those areas. So it's just a matter of cutting these all up, and now I'm assembling the whole thing into a dry fit so I can go back out there, make sure that it aligns very well, and I'm going to certainly employ that little trick my dad talked about with using a Sharpie and putting a line on it before I glue it to be sure everything's in the place where it needs to be. And that was just a matter of coming over and dry fitting it, and you can see it fit into the holes just right. This is exactly what it is we needed, but now it was time to go ahead and make sure that everything else dry fit in here just as well. With the holes lining up, it was now time to validate that the slip valve would connect as well. Once I knew it would, it was time to go back and employ my dad's little trick of using a Sharpie to put lines on everything to line it up. Once that was done, it was a matter of applying the PVC glue, and I did this one section at a time using a small pair of channel locks to make sure that things would sit in place as I assembled them. This was a little bit tedious, but pretty simple process. Once the glue was applied, I would push them together, line up the Sharpie lines to ensure that everything was going to be ready to go for installation. Once glued, it was time to go ahead and just mount all of this in the pedestal, and you can see we went ahead and screwed that in. I'm applying a little bit of Teflon tape before putting the hose bib connections on. They worked really well. I tightened everything up, and then I went ahead and installed the hook here where you could hang the hose and or the power cords.
This is a small 40-watt bulb, and I got one of the little short ones that are like for a bathroom light fixture because I wanted it to sit down lower in this thing. I wanted it to be recessed down in here so it sits below the brackets. I really don't want this thing casting a bright light out here. I just want it to be a glow only. So we will check that out when it gets dark tonight. I could put a little piece of tape over the sensor and have it come on, but you can't really judge it until it's nighttime. And we have these blue lights that shine on the boat in the evening. It kind of is a nice little glow. When I look out from the house or the patio and I see the boat, I want to see that blue glow, not this bright sort of orange light right here, or yellowish from these lenses. This will have a 50 amp breaker coming from the house out to it. So I can use the 50 amp on either side, but not both. That would blow the breaker in there, pop the breaker, which is fine. I have no intention of ever doing that. But I wanted the versatility of being able to plug a 50 amp or a 30 amp cord in here. I have one 30 amp right here, as you see, and I've already checked that out. That is powering up our main breaker panel. I have the lights that are down here on the dock connected to this outlet. You just kind of turn this on and see. Yep, it came on. This little outdoor box right here is actually connected up to the smart lighting system. So it comes on at a certain evening, about 15-20 minutes before dusk, and it goes off at 10:30. So we really like that. So yeah, let me get the other main power cord that powers the air conditioners and heaters in the boat, and I'm going to plug that over on this side in the 30 amp, and we'll take a look and see how all this works, and then I'll start filling in the hole here where I have the electric connected and the water. I connected all the water. I had the electrician come out and do all of the electric, and you know, they did a nice job. It was not exactly inexpensive because they did have to run new wire all the way from the breaker panel out here. So it came from the breaker panel to the back of the house, and then from the back of the house they trenched. They didn't have to trench. They used the existing conduit that was there to the dock before, but they had to pull all new wire. Go ahead and connect the hose right up here. Very nice. Coming out at the dock. I'm actually going to run this, let it sit right on here to keep it off the grass. All right, twist lock it in. All right, breaker's on. We'll go down on the boat. Make sure we have power down at the air conditioners. She's insane, isn't she? As we come down into the boat, the main panel that I said was already plugged in, you can see there we have our 120 volts going, so that's good. Here's the breaker panel for the air conditioners, which is on, so let's see if they come on. We'll come right over here, power it on. And there we go. It's on heat, and yep, starting to feel the warm air coming out of the vent. It's good. So you can see here how the electrician connected up the gray conduit. That's the electrical conduit. I connected the white line, which is the water, and I just used a valve and a piece of flexible conduit to connect it in the ground, and then they used the flexible conduit to run the power to it. Here's where you can see the old power at the dock, and it kind of runs down the dock, along the edge of it, right along this side here, and then comes up to right there. And none of it's connected, so I'm just going to pull it all out of there. Over here. Yeah, right here. Hey, do me a favor. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, subscribe to the channel and click on that little bell notification so you get notified of new videos. Thanks.
I think I actually mentioned this in episode 1. These pedestals are about $1,200 to $1,500 each. And I think I told you, I ended up finding this at a salvage yard. I paid $150 for it. I grabbed a few parts to sort of make this a whole item. And I probably put another $150 to $225 back into this. And that was for new outlets, new outlet covers, some new breakers, sandpaper, spray paint for the sides here. Went ahead and got new light bulbs, some new electrical components in it, whatnot. All the plumbing fittings that you saw us putting on earlier in this video, the slip valves, etc. And all in all, I think this ended up being a really good deal. We still had to pay for the electrician, but the reality is we're into this thing for somewhere around $350. And frankly, some of that was me actually spending some money on a new sander because I needed one for this project. I'm really happy with this. For $350, I have a full pedestal sitting out here at the dock. I have power on both sides with two 50 amps. I have two 30 amp cords as well. Not only that, but I also have the two 20 amp 110 GFCI outlets here. Now, I don't have room for a bigger boat here or another boat. I can plug in either a 50 amp on one side or the other. If I tried to plug them both in, it would certainly pop the breaker in the house. But I'm not going to do that. I have the 30 amps and that's all I need here.
Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This has been a fun project for us. Despite the fact that I was ready to go nuts if I had to go back to Home Depot one more time and buy more PVC fittings. But this project was fun, right? We ended up doing a little bit of treasure hunting at the salvage yard. That was kind of fun. It included some rebuilding and cleaning up of this stuff, doing a lot of electrical testing, cleaning up all of the components. That was kind of fun. Replacing the breakers in this, which I had never done before. So that was kind of interesting. So there was definitely some electrical and wiring, some plumbing work to be done, a little bit of manual labor with the slab and the forms. All in all, it sort of took a lot of different mild skills to do it, and it was a fun project and not overly complex. Now, please understand, I did not put this into the house. We hired a certified electrician. I did everything up in the pedestal, and they ran the actual wire from the breaker panel up inside and made all of the connections inside to validate it was working. So yeah, with that means we're legal, everything was good, and I'm not worried about standing here like this and shocking myself because I was nervous about doing anything with the breakers. Anyway, safe sailing, y'all. We'll see you again next Friday for another video here aboard Sailing Vessel Dream Chaser. Bye, y'all.